Okay, we are solving with a quadratic formula now. So you know how to do this already, but the most important thing is that you remember what the quadratic formula is. And you can, of course, when you're doing MyLabs Plus, it'll be there, but when you take the test, it won't be. So there's a little song that we sing. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And if you want to put, some people say x is equal to negative b, but anyway, that's the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula always works. So like factoring does not always work, and the square root method doesn't always work, but completing the square and quadratic formula always work. But they're also kind of nasty to use. So not my favorite. Let's do an example. Now remember, if you are going to use quadratic formula, you must put it in standard form before you assign the variables a value and put it into the formula. So in this case, it is not in standard form. I must put it in standard form first. Remember, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So in order to put this in standard form, I am going to have to move this over, and so ax squared minus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Now it's in standard form, and I can start plugging into the quadratic formula, which is, the quadratic formula is negative b. All right, well, my b is already negative, so now just for the purposes of making sure everybody understands exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to plug it in as negative b. Oops. Negative 4, sorry. Quadratic formula is negative b, and in this case, that's negative 4, negative. All right, negative 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a, which my a value is 1, c all over 2a. So simplifying that, negative 4 is a positive 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 8 over 2. And you just keep simplifying. 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. 8 breaks down, so you'll break that down. 8's kind of one of the ones that you'll see a lot. It's 2 square root 2. So 4 plus or minus 2 square root 2 over 2. 2 square root 2 over 2. Anything else on the outside can be simplified with anything else that's on the outside. Don't forget that this, because of this fraction bar, this is a grouping symbol. All this is grouped together. I can't just simplify the 4. I can't just simplify the 2. You have to simplify everything. Maybe it's easier for you to look at it this way, and maybe this is why they require this in MyLabs Plus. I can break this into 2 fractions. That 2 belongs to both sides, right? So I can do 4 halves plus or minus 2 square root 2 over 2, and then simplify, which would be 2 plus or minus, that becomes 1, the square root of 2. So your 2 answers are 2 plus the square root of 2 and 2 minus the square root of 2. So that is one example of quadratic formula.